This is Mac OS Ken.
The rough road to Big Sur, productivity and creativity updates from Apple, and the next round of new iPhones makes the scene. It's Friday, the 13th of November, 2020. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by MacPaw, makers of Clean My Mac X. Your Mac as good as new. Learn more about Clean My Mac X and download it for free at macpaw.app/macosken. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macosken. Apple released macOS 11 Big Sur on Thursday. Anyway, it tried to. Expecting the best, Mac Rumors ran a piece highlighting some of the operating system's planned improvements, including the aesthetic redesign, the iOS-inspired Control Center and Notification Center, the changes to Safari, the updates to Messages, and the list goes on. We could spend all day talking about those, though the bigger story today is the people who spent all day trying to download and install the blessed update. CNET ran a piece in the middle of the day Thursday saying that the downloads for Big Sur were super slow and that people were encountering installation delays of hours or even days. In a post at 1:49 p.m. Pacific, CNET said, servers seem to be very slow with the update failing completely for some customers. After saying it had about 17 hours remaining, the Big Sur installation failed 5 or 6 times for one CNET reporter and now won't restart. Now, I pointed out the time on that because just ahead of yesterday's macOS Ken Live, I checked Apple's system status page. It said that the macOS software update issue had started around 10 a.m. Pacific and was resolved by 1:15 p.m. That was apparently a bit optimistic. At about 3:30 Pacific, Cult of Mac posted a piece under the headline, Apple fixes frustrating delays in macOS Big Sur downloads. Sometime later, the headline was amended with the words, update, maybe not. Because yeah, not. Checking Apple's system status page overnight last night, Apple had updated its message saying users may not have been able to download macOS software updates on Mac computers. The time frame listed, 10 a.m. through 5:15 p.m. Pacific. All's well that ends well? Yeah, I wish I could say for certain that it had in fact ended. macOS Ken listener Eric sent me an email around 7 p.m. Pacific saying after a 40-minute attempted download, the update for his 2018 MacBook Pro just decided to fail. Sad trombone, says Eric. Yeah, that's the one. Apparently, the cult went on to say Thursday wasn't a banner day for several Apple services, and they were not kidding. Mac Rumors ran a piece at 2 in the afternoon saying Apple is having trouble with a number of services at this time, and along with problems that are preventing people from installing macOS Big Sur and slowing down third-party apps, Apple Card, Apple Pay, Maps, and iMessage are experiencing issues. Third-party apps? Yeah, seems so. Yet another piece from Mac Rumors told of long delays in launching apps or people being unable to open Mac apps at all. The problem seems to have been tied to Apple's Developer ID Notary service. As for Apple's own services, seems to have been seriously troublesome. Mac Rumors indicates that Apple Card and Apple Pay suffered a complete outage, with users unable to complete Apple Pay transactions. Traffic info and navigation and routing for maps were also unavailable. That outage ran from noon Pacific to 1:40. Mac Rumors updated its story at 2:30 Pacific, saying that Apple had resolved all of the outstanding issues. Is it possible that Apple was just trying to do too much in one day? In addition to the Big Sur release, Apple also released updates for some of its productivity and creativity applications. One piece from Apple Insider says Apple on Thursday released updates for iWork and GarageBand, while another piece from the same site says Apple updated Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. The first piece says the iWork and GarageBand updates bring their design in line with the Big Sur aesthetic. New icons and a refined design for Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, according to the report. That plus the usual stabs and perfs. As for GarageBand, there seems to be quite a bit that's new, including customization of region colors and tracks, 1,800 new Apple loops, over 190 new instrument patches, and 50 vintage and modern drum kits. All of that, plus a bit of the Big Sur design language for everyone. Then there are tweaks for the computers coming soon. According to Apple Insider, GarageBand has been tweaked to improve performance and efficiency on Mac computers powered by Apple Silicon. It's for Apple Silicon that Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro were updated as well. And by the way, I'm not being lazy. I'm not saying the X at the end because Apple's not. Lost, I suppose, in the move from Roman numeral 10 to 11. Most of the updates for the apps are pretty specific to each, though they both have one update in common: improve performance and efficiency on Mac computers with Apple Silicon, according to notes for both. Apple's not the only company updating for Apple Silicon. Apple Insider says Microsoft has updated both Microsoft 365 and Office 2019 with support for Big Sur and for Apple's new chips. Sort of feels like there should be maybe an asterisk in there somewhere. According to the piece, the updates do not employ native code for the M1 processor. Rather, they rely on Rosetta 2. While Apple has said that some apps written for Intel-based machines can run faster on Rosetta 2, starting up the first time will be a bit slow. Apple Insider has Microsoft indicating that the first launch of each Office app will take a bit longer, as macOS is generating optimized code for the Apple Silicon processor, confirming that the code isn't native to Apple Silicon and is relying on Rosetta 2 for operation. More news in a moment, but first a word from MacPaw, makers of Clean My Mac X. Your Mac as good as new. Clean My Mac X is all-in-one cleaning and optimizing software for your Mac. It declutters your Mac and runs maintenance scripts to keep your Mac's performance at its peak. One of its smartest features is Smart Scan. Smart Scan examines your Mac for system log files and user cache that really have no use. I freed up 4 gigabytes of space on my Mac this week with Clean My Mac X. I wonder how much you'll free up. VentureBeat, iMore, iDownload blog. Clean My Mac X is well reviewed by all of them. Cult of Mac says maintaining a healthy Mac doesn't have to be hard. Clean My Mac X offers all the tools you need to ensure your machine is always speedy and safe. Learn more about Clean My Mac X and download it for free at macpaw.app/macOScan. That's MACPAW, macpaw.app/macOScan. That's macpaw.app/macOScan for Clean My Mac X. And a big thanks to MacPaw for sponsoring today's show. The next round of iPhones is on the way today. iMore says iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 12 Pro Max have landed in Apple stores. For people who pre-ordered, the phones should be landing on doorsteps today as well. And finally today, good news for iPhone Upgrade Program members in the UK. You can go ahead and start the reservation process, provided you don't live in England. Another piece from iMore says the program is once again available in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. In the UK, participation in the upgrade program requires an Apple retail associate to give the phone being traded in the once-over. The problem: stores in England are only open for picking up stuff purchased online. No Genius appointments, and no upgrade inspections. Stores in the rest of the UK are a bit more open than stores in England, but being a United Kingdom, Apple has had one retail system for all 4 regions. There were no upgrades in England. There were no upgrades in any part of the UK. Well, Apple has now disbanded the United Kingdom and its retail system, or really just separated England out. That means each of the other 3 countries can handle program upgrades. Coming up in a few minutes, developer extraordinaire August Trometer joins me to talk about this week's One More Thing event. Topics include Write It Once developing, demystifying benchmarking, and what he wishes he could justify buying. Look for the show in a few minutes, wherever you get podcasts. On yesterday's macOS Can Live, we talked about new features in Big Sur and the trouble people were having getting to them. Hoping for a bit of feedback when we go live today, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. Watch it live on youtube.com/CanRay, or catch the audio podcast, macOS Can Live, wherever you catch podcasts. macOS Can, brought to you by me and sponsored by MacPaw, makers of Clean My Mac X. Learn more about Clean My Mac X and download it for free at macpaw.app/macOScan. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOScan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Can. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.